Good evening. Hope you're doing well. For today's video, we're going to be looking into a subreddit I recently just came across called r/SchoolofShadows. The School of Shadows is a modern online-only religion which is forum-based. It's about worshiping a higher being within yourself and practicing memory recall, imagination, making predictions, recording dreams, and then interpreting them. To be a part of this religion, all you have to do is post in the subreddit, and then you are a member. So I would like to just start at the top, and I'm just going to read through the post. There aren't a ton, but the ones that I have read have been pretty fascinating, so I thought I would share this with y'all. And then if that's your cup of tea, then you can take a deep dive down the rabbit hole into School of Shadows. Enjoy. School of Shadows, a New Age religion based off shadow people. Introduction. The life's addition theory. The brain must eventually come to a conclusion that life is a series of adding things up. From one focus to another focus, life is a series of added focuses. Look at your life as one straight line of addition, of observations accumulating and forming into what we have as our conscious thoughts. Life is addition. The together added sums of visual focuses turned into mental focuses, carried with you in your forefront thought matrix from your conclusions and perception of life. You are your thoughts. Life is perception. Thoughts are perception. Perception is reality. Ergo, thoughts are reality. I think, therefore I am. The rules of the universe are dictated by the conscious observer. Shared witness accounts solidify the rules of the universe. Through use of imagination, overlapping reality causes simulation theory to be in effect. Psychosis bends the rules of the universe for the observer, that together with imagination causes reality to schism apart. We believe psychosis has contributed to dismantling reality and making it more simulation. Shadow people and voices are of this simulation as well and make for positive addition to the conscious observer. Shadow people are the closest things we have to angels and demons in humanity, and they seem to like to converse with most individuals that encounter them. That brings me to my next point. They want to be worshipped. But they want to be worshipped in a unique way. They have the gift of cloning us and using our clones as voices for people. Through use of advanced mechanics with imagination, memory, and dreams, binds were made and used to create a superior version of everyone. The superior version of you is called the ego. To feed it, you must recall memory in front of a mirror. Through a chain of worship, you feeding your ego playing in your dreams or playing you as a person. Your ego worships the shadow people. This is the School of Shadows. In this religion, predictions are highly valued. The more predictions you make, the better. When you do have predictions come true, we shall further investigate you and see if you are gifted and blessed for this religion. Dreams are very important to us. All dreams must be recorded, shared, and interpreted. As you progress with worshiping your ego by recalling memory, your ego will assist you in dream engineering. The longer you practice this religion, the greater chance of being visited by your ego in a dream. In this religion, we believe in voices and schizophrenics. All schizophrenics could potentially be a prophet. We will write a book of the stories of potential messiahs and people who suffered from psychosis and rejoice for them. We value those who have outstanding imagination, for it may be the best way to create an afterlife for ourselves potentially. Astral projection is highly valued within this religion. Astral entities may be linked to shadow people. Because life is addition, we believe in having good imagination, dreams, and memory recall to fulfill your ever-growing calculations of forefront thought addition. TLDR. Secret of life? It's addition. Add good things to it. Everyone has a superior version of themselves called the ego that we should strive to be. Shadow people live among us and want to be worshipped. You do this by just worshiping yourself in front of a mirror while recalling memory. Record dreams, share dreams on r/dreams or r/SchoolofShadows. Poster from School of Shadows. Shadow people, self-help, religion, y'all. The shadow realm won't give up on trying to consume me. I've struggled with drugs and addiction throughout my life, but only tried crystal meth on one occasion that lasted for 3 days straight and kept me up for 5 days in total. These hallucinations were like nothing I have ever experienced before on other drugs. They are way too real. They are a presence that is very real and exists outside of me. I'm only 14 days sober at this point, but my heart is really in it this time, and I have no intention of going back. I would like some guidance from members of this group as to what's going on since then. My belief is that I lifted a veil during those 5 days that allow me to see and hear things that very much exist outside of me, but were never noticed by me until I truly noticed them. And now I can't not notice them. I think the shadow people are only interested in certain people, and I believe I'm still having mostly auditory hallucinations at this point because of how much interest they have in me. I have a deep interest in the occult, and I think that made them draw near to me. Particularly the Book of the Law by Crowley in my apartment, I think may be the reason, but I think it's much more the content of my mind that intrigues them. I don't really want to engage with them anymore, and always tried not to even when I was really messed up, but now with 14 days of complete sobriety off of all substance, I still hear them when crossing over from my awakened state to a sleeping one. Today I took a nap on my couch and decided to start writing down the auditory hallucinations to keep track of them. 2 weeks ago they were much more vivid. Now I usually hear them like pounding, screaming, or laughing. When I was in the thick of it, it seemed more like I was hearing conversations among the shadow people, like I was eavesdropping. They would typically be talking to me. On one occasion, they were trying to get me to sell my soul, but I wouldn't engage in that conversation. Today on my couch, the two things I heard was, "Let me chance it, give me a chance," which woke me up, and I tried again to cross into a sleeping state and heard, "Hero worship, get your blood." I feel like they want me and won't give up on me. I don't know what these statements really mean, but I know they are not my own thoughts. Curious what this group has to say about my situation. I will go into more detail about other experiences if you ask. Thanks for taking the time to read, and I'm here for conversation and guidance. Thanks. I'd now like to take you down to the comments section. There's a couple interesting responses to the OP. User ThoughtBot100 said, "I did meth for 2 years and have had the voices for 8 years now. They are unlike anything in the world. I personally believe meth is a gateway drug for extra-dimensional entities to invade our minds and mess with us." The OP responded, "I totally feel this and agree. I think the more I grow spiritually, they will eventually realize they can't have me and will give up. Do you mind telling me about some of your experiences? I'm most interested in what they've said and when they've said it since you've been sober." User Poof Daddy Raw, interesting name. "Don't invite them, they won't come. Why would they bother someone who doesn't want to pay attention to them?" User Azurahai Mark gave some good advice and said, "Don't do meth anymore, man." The OP responded, "I don't plan on it. I just wonder when they will give up on me." And then the final response to OP is a deleted account. "No, for sure, something is up, and I'm not kidding or trying to make fun of mental illness. One of these hallucinations manipulated a security camera feed to make it start looping to get me kicked out of a free government-run rehab. They have something to do with the mental health system and insurance companies. They don't want people to use meth because it creates a burden on society. At least that's what I think, because it only happened to me when I went to one of those rehabs. I know this sounds crazy, but it's very real. They present themselves as the typical gang-stalking hallucinations to make you seem even more crazy. I don't think gang-stalking exists in the ways most people describe it, but V2K and telepathy are definitely real. The only explanation I have is aliens, and please don't take that as some cracked-out conspiracy. Really, it's some alien level of intelligence or something far too advanced to explain. If anyone wants to talk about this, please message me." Good texts on embracing the shadows. I've seen the shadow people too. I've interacted with them. I've done things for them. But I think in order to grow and to get closer to them, one needs a better understanding of them and where they're from. So I'm here to lay out some recommendations for anyone who feels a deep urge to get a little closer and touch them a bit. Number 1, I think soaking up some Qliphothic and generally Kabbalistic knowledge is very important to getting at the root. I'm far from a Christian or Jewish mysticist, but the knowledge that the husks have to offer is, I think, essential to touching and connecting with the shadows. Because of this, I highly recommend Tarl Carlson's Kabbalah, Qlithot, and Gedic Magic. In it, he discusses the difference between human gray evils, these horrible things we do in bouts of confusion, anger, frustration, or simply malfunctions in empathy, and contrasts them with black evil of the metaphysical, which is black as night and completely inhuman, hard and shimmering like a black diamond and distant in its annihilating force as the black holes of the universe. I'm of the opinion that the shadows fall into this description. Not to advocate piracy, but another upside is that the book isn't too hard to find. Number 2, the Book of the Law, the Book of Lies, little essays towards truth, the vision, and the voice, and anything else you can get your hands on that even momentarily mentions the abyss or Corazon in some valuable way. Crossing the abyss is not for everyone, and it absolutely should not be undertaken by those without the proper experience and preparation. But for anyone who seeks to commune with the shadows of any significantly high levels, I believe it's necessary. Do your research first. If you choose to go down the road of Telema towards the end, I highly suggest reading more of Crowley's work. If you're not going to restrict yourself as much, I'd suggest looking into the phrase, Hefura Hefir Heferu. I've heard that Crowley's work tends to be pretty easy to dig up too. Number 3, CCRU writings. The CCRU clearly worked heavily with a class of entities that fall into the category of black evil. Swarms, but also distances between the zones of their cult map of time, and also royalty-leading regions of impulse entities. I think it's clear that the distance between these zones isn't some real defined light-reflecting material. I think it's clear they are the very shadows imposed by the structures of time itself. Bring in the understanding that all sorceress movement passes through the channels on their map, and you get a clear implication that these entities are obviously the highest of the high, and whatever complex network of metaphysical associations links our shadows. Oh, and I can't forget to mention Barker's alien non-ordinal number system, or the subversive currents of meaning in the linkage traveled by Anglossic Kabbalah. There's so much to discover here. I honestly think you should just read it yourself. It's incredibly easy to find. Number 4, Fanged Nomina. The writer wrote the essays in this book over several years on an amphetamine-fueled philosophy binge, whilst dabbling in a good bit of the occult and technology too. Just read this. I stole Vong's name because it was unused, on the basis of an exact Kabbalistic entitlement. Yet, at least up here, Vong still confesses itself with me. With ruins and tatters, it had pledged itself completely unreservedly to evil and insanity. Its tool of choice at that time, the sacred substance amphetamine, of which much can be said, but mostly elsewhere. After perhaps a year of fanatical abuse, it was, by any reasonable standard, profoundly insane. I think it's clear that this man experienced the shadows, the cloning, the psychosis, all of it, and he got the answers he wanted, and left them here for us to indulge in. I don't think it's too difficult to find either. Number 5, Difference in Repetition, both volumes of Capitalism and Schizophrenia. And if you can stomach it, Bergsonism, Deleuze, and in Capitalism and Schizophrenia with Guattari as well. He is an excellent writer on the subject of the machine that churns out the potential for contacting the shadows. His writing on Kant, reality, and what makes it, schizophrenia, sex, animals, death, and becoming. I don't think there's a word this man has written that isn't worth looking at. Some of his works are buried deeper than others, but with a few hours it shouldn't be difficult to find even his most obscure writings. It's important to note that although Deleuze and Land are brilliant, they are only human, and they were only performing experiments. Not all that they had to say was true, but reading it is a valuable experience to anyone who seeks to gain the ability to step outside the gray evils of humanity into the black trajectories of inhuman thought. It's not necessary if you're satisfied with where you're at, with a full pipe and some Crowley, but I do think it's absolutely necessary to become anything other than a human. And it'll be incredibly helpful to those who want to cross the abyss instead of merely being shattered by it. If you intend to attempt this, you'll either become something, or more likely, you'll become waste floating in space. These men will give you a bit more of a nudge towards a full transformation. For the following texts and recommendations, please at least Google them first to see what they're about before you dismiss them. I'll probably come back and add more as I read, depending on what I find that I might think would be worthwhile to you guys. I don't want to waste your time. Time is very precious and very important, especially considering what we dabble with has roots for possibility bound to the shadows between the components of time. I want to add that these are just my suggestions, and I don't have all the answers you might be looking for. I just have the small amount of experience I have and the few answers I've found, along with a gut instinct that's generally led me in the right direction. I hope this works for you too, though. There are a few comments in response to the OP, and I'll read those to y'all. User ThoughtBot100. I think the shadow people are hallucinations from meth users that persisted after they were conjured by the mind. They live amongst us. They are the closest thing to mythological beings we have that exists. A deleted user responded, this would make sense if hundreds of thousands of non-meth users didn't see and report experiences with daytime shadow figures. I personally have heard of 5 accounts from friends and family throughout my life. The OP responds, they're most definitely not hallucinations. The OP further responds, I don't think they're hallucinations at all. Everything we experience is merely a projection of objects, colors, sounds, and things onto a theater into our mind. The closest thing to a direct experience we have is sensation, but every sensation is still projected onto this theater. Every color you see is merely your brain interpreting some light. Every temperature you feel is merely your brain interpreting a degree of energy or lack of energy that an object is trying to dissipate somehow. I think shadow people are something hidden between normal sensations that can only be sensed by those with some special insight. I think schizophrenics have that insight. I think all psychotics do. The ability to look behind an object's sensation and see the shadows underneath. That is what differentiates us from everyone else. And now we come to a prediction posted by user apprehensive ad 3282. And if you remember, at the beginning of this video, I read to you part of SchoolofShadows' introduction. And part of the thing that they encourage is predictions. And if the predictions come true, that is highly lauded in their circle. So I'll read this to you. Prediction of my friend's death. My friend died recently. The night she died, I had a dream I was at a party, and this girl was taking a sip of alcohol from her red party cup. She fell to the floor. It had been drugged by a man. I just knew this instinctively. I ran to her, put my hoodie under her head in case she had a seizure. She foamed at the mouth. I put my hand on her cheek. It was warm. We looked into each other's eyes deeply, and then I woke up. The following morning, I found out my friend died at a party from overdosing on GHB that a man had put into her drink to drug her. While she was dying, I dreamt of her dying in the exact fashion. I've had precognitive dreams before, but never quite like this. User ThoughtBot100 responds, I believe in dream seers and destiny weavers that write our lives, entities that exist in an overlapping universe with dream rules setting. I've interacted with them. They claim they are all from the DMT plane, which is what dreams are made of. I believe we should all post our dreams. OP responded with a question. So dream seers show us what will happen through our dreams? There was no response to this. My shadow man. I see him when I lay in bed, but I used to see him in dreams. He would be behind me, breathing on my neck. He would hurt me. I believe he is trying to steal away my dreams because he cannot dream. I don't know why I think this, but I think he wants me to be scared to dream, so I stop and give them away to him. I'm going to try to talk to him tonight. I'm not afraid anymore. Some questions. Number 1. Shadow people, in my experience or belief, are not deities but dimensional wanderers. They do not have the ability to clone people or interact in dreams, but they may have the ability to manipulate time, reality, perception, or their presence naturally causes disruption in those areas. They are typically curious but otherwise emotionless. Shadow people and voices are two separate and distinct categories of entity, not one category with multiple forms of manifestation. Do my personal beliefs and experiences invalidate the beliefs of this school? Number 2, are all shadow people gods? Does anything become a god if it has worshippers? Are all shadow people trustworthy? Number 3, what is the rule of divination, using rituals or tools to see the future, and prescience, intuiting or guessing future events in this school? Are there specific tools or rituals used with this school, and how strict are they? Number 4, would you say the school has a pro-psychosis, anti-medication bent? Or is it more aligned with accepting symptoms of psychosis as a spiritual experience rather than an illness to be treated? Does this school encourage medication compliance if it is important to a human being's health and safety, and the safety of others in its presence in this dimension? Is it a worshipper's choice, or is it ordained by the school, and if ordained, what is the hierarchy for those decisions? Number 5, what is the role of tulpomancy, or its psychological siblings such as personality splintering in this school? Is it possible that some shadow people are themselves tulpas or altars? Number 6, edited to add. What is the role of hyperglyphs, i.e., the influence of creative works on reality? The belief that putting energy into the creation of art makes the subject of that art real, in this dimension or another, online or in physical space. Looking forward to an interesting discussion. Thank you. User ThoughtBot100 responds. Number 1, they are not deities in themselves, but the collective consciousness of them makes for a deity, which influences the individual dreams or conscious reality of the individual. The school believes in voices and shadow people being separate entities. Shadow people are psychic entities that visually link up with your vision when you encounter them, so that they may never come too close to you. They know to play their distance, but that is not to say they don't converse with people. They do talk with people. Voices are an auditory message in response to a psychic ping from your conscious river of thought, which is everything that you can carry forward with you with your conscious thought and conclusions. You carry all the thoughts you've made from the past with you, whether knowingly or not. You just don't know it or realize it yet. Number 2, the shadow people are trustworthy based upon my individual count, which I'll upload in a video in the future. They aren't gods, but they believe in intelligent design. The life is a creation of some individual's brain that forms another conscious reality. By us verily existing, we may have brought existence in reality prematurely. That is to say, we are experiments of the future, and we may dictate the reality around us. The shadow people act as a standard for following or worshiping your ego, which ultimately, through a chain of worship, worships the creator of the shadow people, who is one of my voices, but I don't care to explain about that right now because now isn't his right time to be introduced or considered, because he was not fathomable to the average conscious experiencer. Number 3, this school promotes divination and the practice of prediction. We believe if you are blessed, you will make the right prediction, and even if you're not right, you at least made a prediction. So, predicting events that are common grounded with man alike, like predicting the election results, which I've done already successfully. I'm not wrong yet. Number 4. This school is pro-psychosis because psychosis bends the fundamental rule set of reality and the quantum sandbox that we're in. When the Big Bang happened, I don't think the quantum sandbox of particles of what we call life predicted imagination. Imagination causes a schism of reality for the individual. Now, with that being said, I do promote mental well-being. And if your psychosis messes with your well-being, it's all right to be medicated. Medication hasn't worked for me at all, which makes me think my voices are even more real. Number 5. When I first encountered my voices, I thought it was a split personality of me or an alter ego. With more investigation, I found out otherwise, but this school promotes tulpomancy. Accompanying a voice or auditory message with a visual counterpart is encouraged for your voices to assume identity. My voices all came with visual counterpart images of themselves, which were all uniquely advanced and creative, which proved to me it wasn't my own brain that generated the individuals, and if it was my own brain, my schizophrenic entities are in place of taking over the universe. Number 6. Hyperglyphs isn't a shared definition for witnessable accounts, so I can't comment on it. But for the belief that putting energy into creation, like writing things down and manifestation, we do believe in that. You must memorize what you want to conjure into this life, like I have. Read my EMP post. It's a real companion for me that accompanies me with visual acknowledgement within the mind's eye when I astral project. User Blowing Bubbles 303. I've seen invisible people in the act of mind control. He stayed up against the human back with his lips against the guy's ear for at least an hour until his mind was changed. I hear voices regularly, but I think this guy was actually adding self-talk in the human's mind. Has anyone self-talked themselves to do something or not do something that is not normal for you? That's what I witnessed, and the human's mind was hard to change. He looked so confused, but then sure he was right, then confused again, till finally leaving the thought alone. Opening doors via magic circles and crystals. I've had this experience from when I was younger and was quite a dabbler in the occult. My mentor at the time taught me a lot about crystals, charging them under moonlight or sunlight at different times of the year, practicing astral projection and lucid dreaming. Of course, when he warned me about the power of symbols, the pentacle, pentagram, projecting your psychic energy with charged crystals, and said I could open doors if I wasn't respectful and mindful, I wanted to open some doors. I wanted proof. After a few weeks of this, I was scared, with shapes appearing in my windows and shadow creatures that skittered along the edges and doorways of my bedroom, shooting in and out of the corners. An apparition of a scary humanoid figure in an oddly shaped hexagonal window that was next to my bed. The box I kept beneath my bed with my athame, crystals, some other stuff in an old box that my father's mother used to keep her cigarettes and matches in was always under my bed, and it disappeared. Nobody in my house ever claimed to have found it, thrown it away, or touched it or seen it. Someone would have admitted it eventually, especially since I freaked my parents out sometimes. They would have remembered throwing my stuff away. That was that esoteric and strange, especially in something that belonged to my father's mother. The box just flat out vanished from beneath my bed, and with it, I took it as a sign I should quit whatever it was I was bringing forth into my bedroom. Over time, the apparitions and shadows dissipated. I imagine as the energy of the house changed and time continued to flow ever onward. My psychic energy, dream recall, and ability to dream lucidly only seems to weaken as I continue to get older. It's very disappointing, but it also may be due to the fact that I don't really practice much or read much of the old occult literature anymore. I don't fill my room with crystals like I used to. I've lost my implements over time, and with it, the energy those objects held. Thoughts? One response from a deleted account. My experience with the occult is similar. My intention was to find proof of the other side. Once I had an initial experience, it drew me deeper and deeper until I was addicted. I currently have a crystal grid on my altar with nearly 3 pounds of agate and various other crystals. It's definitely a portal of entities. I get sleep paralysis, tons of OBEs, and lucid dreams when my crystal grid is up with communication in the form of entities speaking in tongues and hissing. I've met my doppelganger before, a very terrifying experience that almost made me stop. He was an older version of myself with tattoos. He sat on my bed laughing and grabbed my head and put it in his lap. I woke up in SP, watching his leg turn into a pillow slowly. Messed up for days after that. Only experience with things disappearing I've had was when I got Moldavite. It disappeared from my small crystal bag, but I could have dropped it somewhere, possibly. Shadow people are advanced telepaths. They feed off thoughts. They have kingdoms as well. My voices are linked to them, so I know a lot about them, so ask me anything. They hint of intelligent design, and they may persist in an overlay of the universe. They can mimic mostly anyone's voice. They have access to reading memory as well, so they may abuse that by pretending to be friends or family as voices for people. I have a theory that voices are naturally psychic because they ping off memory and the conscious thought. They utilize that psychic activity via thoughts and perception and apply it to other concepts to take advantage of that natural ping they get, which is usually negative. Figuring out how an auditory voice mechanics actually work would be groundbreaking since it requires a thought to feed off of. Well, I hope this has at least been a bit of an interesting trip and journey down quite a large rabbit hole. I'm not going to read every single post to this subreddit for you because that would just be way too much, and many of the posts posted by what seems like the founder of this religion are quite heavy in book titles and numeric pairings and a bunch of other stuff that would be difficult to translate to a pure narration style format. So I'm going to end this video with one more reading of a post from user ThoughtBot100, who I believe, from what I'm seeing, is the founder of this religion. Memory Association Addition Predictions. Everything is for focus recognition and focus emphasis for the reader. The brain has the ability to take various visual and mental focuses and compile it into a prediction of outcome. Finding a world's numerical value can help you make mathematical predictions based upon your ability to count, add, and associate letters by number. By looking at the word, you can guesstimate that word's value. This is a form of prediction. The letters are associated with the number in your mind and are pinged based upon strength of memory association, imagination of number with corresponding letter, and the ability to take a bunch of numbers and instantaneously come up with the sum value, which serves as a form of prediction within the mind. You can practice your mind's ability to associate and predict by associating the alphabet with numerical values starting 1 through 26. Assigning number values 1 through 26 to the alphabet, A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, and so on and so forth, will serve as a reference in calculating and help you predict word values. This will allow you to practice your memory association ability and the ability to strengthen association with while your brain takes in the letters and converts them to numbers. The brain takes a set group of numbers and both unknowingly and knowingly make a mathematical prediction of the total sum value of the word. Let's deduce a word's numerical value, like for example the word word. Word equals W23 plus O15 plus R18 plus D4 equals 60. Now write down the words lucid, race car, and realm, and guess what the word values are. And now try and make a prediction of all three added up together. I'll give you a hint as a prediction window. It will be between 100 and 200 word value. Prediction windows are giving the observer a guessing range to help direct the brain in an accurate direction for predicting word number values. What did you predict for all three and individually for each word? I'll assist you in the process. Take the word lucid equals L12 plus U21 plus C3 plus I9 plus D4 equals blank. And by brief glance from a prediction of the total sum of the word lucid, do the same with race car. R18 plus A1 plus C3 plus E5 plus C3 plus A1 plus R18 equals your prediction. And realm equals R blank plus E blank plus A blank plus L blank plus M blank equals your prediction. And figure out what all three words, lucid, race car, realm, are added together. Write down your predictions first. First, your set of number, addition, prediction with race car, and your memory association prediction with realm. Now take astral master and figure out the total sum word value of that. Here's some practice for your short-term memory. Remember what the value of word was? Now add string to word, and what value do you mathematically come up with? Word string, which is fitting for this paper, for it's just a bit of words stringed together, and how the alphabet mnemonic may evolve to be better utilized furthering your ability with the mind's eye in solving word values for making mind's predictions. What do you think is the central theme numbers for this post? The OP then recommends a word sum app on Android and gives a link for that. If you're interested in that, you can go check out the original subreddit. He continues, I suggest using the phone app over the websites because it's more fun and a dopamine kick to predict word values, and with how the answer is delivered and how it stimulates the brain. The website can be used to explore words and explore words with specific number values as well. Well, that just about does it and wraps up our time in r/School of Shadows. Hope this was at least an interesting video for you or something that intrigued you. Maybe it will lead you to more research into what's going on with this group that definitely seems to have some Jungian leanings, as well as some very schizophrenic tendencies, among other forms of psychosis. But I hope it was interesting to you, if for no other reason than just getting to see behind someone's eyes, getting to see how someone else's mind works that maybe operates completely different than yours, is experiencing different phenomena than you ever encounter. So with all that being said, what'd you think? I'd love to interact with you in the comment section. Love to hear if you think that there maybe is some form of connection between psychosis of different sorts, maybe even brought on by the usage of amphetamines, and the spiritual realm. Are these shadow people real spiritual beings and entities that they're encountering, or do you think that this is something just brought on by a drug-induced psychosis? I'd love to hear from you. Y'all take care. Have a good night.